Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Peter Viney. He's the Industry Relations Manager for the CADA and the Chief Architect of this year's CADA Summit. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Todd. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Well, we're about a month away from the CADA Summit, and I've been to about 10 of these, and they're fantastic. It's always a highlight of my year to see, the latest thinking and certainly things that are impacting the dealership world. But this is your first since you joined CADA, pulling this thing together. How's it coming together so far?
It's coming together quite well, actually. When doing the research and the planning for this, I was really, really impressed by the depth and the breadth of the speakers and the topics that have been covered in the past. So quite a tall order to put one of these things together. And so for the 11th edition this year, we've got what we're going to bring to the dealer members as a look into the near future. The latest information, analysis, opinions, really to bring not only maybe a few explanations to sort things out for our dealer members, but also to maybe raise some other questions that have not been considered yet.
Well, one thing that viewers might not know is I'm on the Summit Planning Committee, as well as Neil Hiscox, the publisher of Auto Dealer. So we meet with your team at CADA for months, almost immediately after the previous summit in 2023, and start discussing which issues are hot, what are dealers interested in, who's a good speaker. So there's really months and months of planning and doing this before the big day. So it's almost like planning a wedding, and we're almost here. So how's it been for you? Are you excited to unveil the speakers? We'll get to the content in a second of how the agendas come together.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's been one of the funnest parts of the organization is, identifying the topics that we want to talk about, what's relevant to our dealers. And when you're doing it months in advance, you have to kind of think to yourself, what's going to be relevant at the time of the summit? And that can be kind of like a little bit of trying to look into the future. But I'm very excited about the speakers that we're bringing on. These are subject matter experts in economy, in politics, in technology, in activism, in even giving us a sense of the geopolitical sense, because the auto industry is quite a large industry worldwide. And while in Canada it's a much smaller industry, it's part of a much larger environment. And so to bring one of these summits together and to bring these experts together and these opinion leaders together has been a lot of fun. And you get a chance to meet some of your heroes as well, which is kind of cool.
And the other thing about it is there's still time. We're about a month out for dealers. The registration, I guess, has been strong. There's been a lot of communication from CADA so far about the content, but where does that sit? What would you say to dealers who still want to book their tickets?
There is still some room left. We are filling up very quickly, though. One of the things that is so attractive about this event is that it is for our dealer members. This is our focus, and they are our priority for this event. So we encourage anyone who has not yet registered to do so, and you can do so quite easily. Just go to cada.ca, click on the summit button and click on registration. And it's that simple. And a couple of screens later, you're in. But please don't delay because, as I said, every day we take a look at the tally and we know that we are going to be sold out probably in a matter of weeks.
Okay. And now let's get a little bit to the content and the speakers. We've been holding back that a little bit, but just give us a walkthrough of some of the highlights of what dealers can expect this year in terms of some of the names and even some of the topics.
Yeah, sure, Todd. I mean, in the near future, where are we going? Where's the economy going? That one is at the top of a lot of people's minds. Where's the auto business going? Where are car buyers going? So in that sense, we're bringing together some keynote speakers and panelists to try to help us understand that. For the economy, for example, we will be featuring Linda Nazareth. She'll be kicking things off first thing in the program in the morning. Linda Nazareth, you may know from her time at BNN. She's also an author and a futurist. So she'll talk to us about the trends in the industry and how that's going to affect us. And I believe under the title of economorphics, which is a new thing that I'm learning about. And I'm very excited about that. We'll talk about the auto business, what's happening. Darren Slynn from Clarify Group is going to give us some meat and potatoes, which we need. but is also going to be talking a little bit about the trends in the industry. Where is the industry going? Auto show season is starting, of course, and how has that changed? The CES is on, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that'll bring us into competition. Competition, of course, is the lifeblood of the auto industry. We have a number of brands in Canada that compete for car buyers' businesses, and the dealers are on the front line of that competition. What is happening with outside OEMs, i.e., not if, but when are the Chinese OEMs coming? So we'll have Michael Dunn coming from Dunn Insights. He is a noted expert on the Asian car market. He is also someone who has studied in great detail the EV market around the world. So I think the dealers are going to find that very fascinating.
Well, I had a chance actually to interrupt, to interview Michael Dunn prior, just to do a video interview, and super smart guy. I mean, he spent a lot of time in China, learning and studying, so he can really speak to that. I think dealers will be very, very curious or interested to hear what he's saying about what our near future is for the Chinese OEM. So sorry, back to you. I'm looking forward to that session as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's a nice lead up to the next speaker who will talk to us about technology and specifically AI and retailing, artificial intelligence. So we look at, it's become a buzzword. The media covers it in the sense it's the new future. It's a scary future. It's a great future. The fact of the matter is that it's here now and our dealers are using AI. So the question now is, where is it going to go? What use will it be? And the whole issue of adding value. How does a dealer add value in the whole, retail chain? How is that changing? And so, looking very much forward to Doug's presentation. I think that's going to be super. We're also going to be featuring. I think this is always exciting for the car companies, the OEMs we call them, the Dealer Satisfaction Index Awards. So we'll be announcing those manufacturers, those car companies that achieved either the biggest improvements or the highest overall satisfaction index or best communication as rated by their dealers. So the CADA runs this survey every year, and this was the 34th year, I believe. So it's a long-standing study, a lot of data, a lot of baseline data that allows us to see trends. So that's going to be quite exciting for us.
Well, one thing, sorry, on the OEM front, I guess, I know Jason Stein is going to kick off the summit again this year with a series of really quick hit interviews with some of the OEM leaders. That was really a popular session last year. I remember it was packed. Everyone sat and wrapped attention and listened. And then he'll be interviewing, more in-depth interviews with OEMs. So not only the DSI presentation, but the OEMs will be able to offer their perspective for dealers as well. So that's another highlight.
Hey, that's a perfect segue, especially when you mention Jason, because right after lunch, he'll be moderating a panel of CEOs from Canadian OEMs like Ford, Hyundai, and Volkswagen. But in the morning, right after the doors open for registration at 8 a.m., Jason will be doing some quick takes, which you mentioned, and will be a great way of doing some quick back and forth Q&A. So there is an OEM component in there. It's always important. While this is for our dealer members, we have to recognize that some of the closest business relationships that our dealers have, of course, is with their OEMs. So they do play an important part of the summit. Then afterwards, we're going to have the chance to take another dive into the auto business, this time with Cliff Banks. Cliff Banks, to those who have been to the summit before or those in the industry know, a very incisive analyst who is never afraid to speak his mind. He comes up with angles to different scenarios or to things that are going on in the industry, which are quite thought-provoking. So we're quite excited to have Cliff come back and talk to us, because he's going to not only kind of paint the picture of where we're at right now, but ask some pretty interesting questions about where we're going. The session that we're going to be having afterwards will be a dealer panel. Now, we've had dealer panels in the past, and they are very important to the summit. But this year, we're going to invite our winning CADA dealer laureates. to come and speak to us about not how they won their laureate, but the challenges and how they've risen to the challenges in their own stores, in their own communities. And very much looking forward to hearing what Peter McDonald, Andrew Ojime, and Hugh Carl have to tell us about their own, let's say, challenges and opportunities in their own markets. We'll be following that up, of course, with I think the issue of the day, the presidential primaries would have started in the States. So we are very excited to have Andrew Coyne and David Frum be part of a panel that will be moderated. And this will be something which I think everyone is going to be kind of at the edge of their seats listening to. We know that there is obviously always a lot of news around U.S. presidential elections. This one promises to be perhaps a little more exciting for good or bad reasons. And I think Andrew and David are going to help shed some light on what we can expect in Canada, depending on what happens.
We've had both Andrew Coyne and David Frum previously at summits. They're always popular, but never on the stage at the same time. They've delivered sort of individual addresses. So it'll be interesting to see that banter and perspective between both of them as they start to discuss some of these issues. So that's another session that's a really a can't miss session. So
yeah, absolutely.
Are there any other surprises or secrets that we don't yet know about? I know you might have something up your sleeve there. Tell us a bit about that. So.
Yes, late breaking news. We are very happy to announce that Richard Hammond, host of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, is going to be our closing keynote speaker. Those of you who follow the automobile industry, those of who are in automotive enthusiasts, all know Richard Hammond. And we are very excited to have him close out our summit. It promises to be probably a very insightful, but also very amusing. As usual, he has a certain speaking style and a certain approach, which is absolutely unparalleled when it comes to, let's call it automotive journalism. So we're very excited about that.
Well, dealers, I'm sure, will be wanting to hear some of those stories, behind the scenes stories. They would have watched many of these episodes. At its peak, Top Gear was one of the most widely broadcast shows, globally, certainly from the BBC. So yeah, they'll be awesome. Well, hey, Peter, listen, thanks for joining us today. And still time for dealers to register. The event is February 14th, Valentine's Day, at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. So any last words for dealers to encourage them to register?
And again, we encourage our dealer members to come down to the Metro Toronto Convention Center on February 14th and join us for what will be a very memorable summit. And of course, a big shout out to our exclusive sponsor, TD Auto Finance. They have been the exclusive sponsor of the summit for a number of years now. We're very excited to continue to partner with them. Thank you, Todd. Pleasure.